Over the weekend, North Korea simulating a nuclear attack on the U.S. The simulated strike came early Saturday morning in response to joint military drills held by the U.S. and South Korea around the peninsula earlier this week. Now, just a few days prior, Pyongyang held a similar drill focusing on South Korean targets. State media reports that the North Korean drills were meant to warn the enemies of the actual nuclear war danger. Now, NewsNation senior national security contributor and retired Air Force Lieutenant General Richard Newton is here to weigh in. Lieutenant General Newton, you and I have talked about this before and how North Korea likes to flex their muscle and things like that. The two of these simulated nuclear strikes in less than a week, how serious of a threat is this and how should the U.S. respond?
Well, good morning, Nick. This is on the heels of joint military exercise with the United States and South Korea forces that's been going on actually for several years. And so we would expect not only belligerent rhetoric, but demonstration of some modicum of force by the North Koreans. These cruise missile tests that were launched several days or so ago, most recently on Saturday up in the northwest coast off of North Korea, again, demonstrate, I think, that Kim Jong-un is displeased with these ongoing joint exercises and trying to demonstrate some capability. And so we should expect this. We can also perhaps, Nick, expect more in this case, but it just shows the level of, disruption of the what would be, you would think would be normal diplomatic relations that have really never occurred between South Korea and North Korea. So I would expect more of this.
And General Newton, who is this for? Because we watch it. We know that they don't even have the capability of hitting any U.S. space with a nuclear missile. So is this more or less to prop up and let the people of North Korea know, hey, we've got this under control, or is this more of a threat to South Korea?
Well, actually, there's multiple audiences here. There's obviously inside of North Korea, but also in the region, Japan, South Korea, perhaps even the Philippines and so forth, that Kim Jong-un is trying to demonstrate that he's got capability. So he takes these exercises as an opportunity to test his capabilities. And so, you take them for what they demonstrate. But nonetheless, again, we're going to expect to see more of this. I would anticipate perhaps an attempt to do a intercontinental ballistic missile test at some point, perhaps not necessarily in the next couple of days, but perhaps in the next several weeks or so. But this is saber rattling and it's been ongoing. And so what you're also seeing is a tighter relationship, I believe, between the United States and South Korea. Mm-hmm. If you recall back on June 18th, there was the Camp David summit between the leaders of South Korea and Japan and President Biden. And that communique offered up the fact that you're going to see more joint now exercises, trilateral exercises with Japan and South Korea and the United States, as well as the sharing of intelligence information and so forth. So all of this is in context, Nick. And it's the fact that Kim Jong-un is trying to demonstrate he's got capability, but on the United States side, and certainly South Korea, the only thing he really understands is strength. And the fact that the United States is got a very close relationship with South Korea and is ongoing, and I expect that for many more years.
General Newton, less than 30 seconds left in this segment. What should the takeaway be for people at home? They hear the idea of a training exercise, including, simulated nuclear missiles. What should the takeaway be for people sitting at home? Do they have any reason to be concerned?
Well, no, I think the takeaway is the fact that the United States is closely aligned with our key allies and partners, as I mentioned, with South Korea and Japan and others in a very important region to not only the United States, but into the world. The message is also to Putin. The message is also to China's Xi and so forth, that the United States is going to maintain the peace, and we're going to do that with strength. We're going to be closely aligned with our allies. The fact that the United States we're organized, trained, and equipped, not only in places like Europe, but also in Asia Pacific, especially along the North Korea, South Korea on that peninsula. It's historically important to us, but it's also going to be very important to us diplomatically, economically, and militarily for many, many years.
Diplomacy and the message that the United States will continue to stand by its allies. Retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton, thank you again for joining us this morning.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.